Welcome to the Science of Happier Work. My name is Jackson Kirchis. I'm a managing partner at HMB and WLT companies, where we help military and small to medium business leaders solve their people problems. So, as you know, often on this podcast, we talk about different applications. So, we'll talk about anything from individual happiness and human performance, which is kind of our passion. So, how do I improve my work life balance? How do I manage my career? How do I maximize my productivity? Things like that, to more organizational. So, maybe you're a key executive or the leader of a team, or you're the owner of a business. How can we actually maximize the potential of our employees, solve problems, and kind of shift the outcomes of the organization? So that second direction is what we're going to talk about today. This should be a very practical discussion. We're going to share with you something we've developed called the 4S model, which we used in a recent case study last year to transform the operational outcomes of a medium-sized business. So let's just step back for a second. Think high level. How do we get people to change their behavior? It's not easy. You need a pretty thorough understanding of how to do this. And a lot of it relates to organizational change. So the model we've developed, the 4S's, they stand for skills, systems, safety, psychological safety, knowing that psychological starts with AP. So oftentimes I just put it in parentheses, psychological safety with an S, and then shared commitment. So what does this mean? Well, I'll go through each of those, then I'll share a little bit of an application of how we've done this, and then I'll challenge you to think through a problem you're currently trying to solve on your team, maybe even just in your life, but of course in a business context. So on the 4S's, we said skills first. People have to have the capacity to actually do the change that's being asked of them. You know, if you get a new customer relationship management tool at your company, which you use to keep track of your sales calls and your emails and all this stuff, and imagine if none of your people have ever used a CRM or used that CRM. Naturally, they're going to have no idea what to do unless you train them on those skills. Systems. This refers to all these other things that you need to reinforce behavior. So more of like the formal mechanisms to reinforce it. So if you want people to do a certain thing, do you have that in their performance management? Do you have systems or checklists to account for it? Do you have software, potentially technologies to support it? Do you have even just the resources, right? If you want your customer service representatives to send a handwritten thank you note after customers purchase large orders, it's like, okay, well, do you have a reminder that schedules out for them to do that? Are you checking on it? Do you have a manager who checks out how many were sent? Do you have thank you cards at the office, right? Like it's kind of obvious, but oftentimes we miss this idea of having formal reinforcement mechanisms. So that's all systems, okay? Now we're going to shift gears slightly, getting a little bit less tangible into the more psychological factors, which, as I'll share in this case study, are just as important for getting change in a team or an organization. So psychological safety. This is not like PC woke safety thing. It's more like, or safe spaces, or it's not that. This really means that you feel like an environment is safe for interpersonal risk taking. Now, that's a bit of a technical term, but what that means is you feel like you can speak up, you can ask a question, you can try something new, you can do any of those things that are a little bit out there, and you don't have to stay quiet because you're afraid of looking stupid. That is like the antithesis of psychological safety. Is you ever feel like you've been in an organization or a team where people just kind of look around and it's like, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to deal with it. Or if I say I don't know about this thing, they might think I'm stupid. That kind of fear of retribution or fear of being outcast or fear as being ashamed, all of those things signal a lack of psychological safety. Now, on the other hand, when you have psychological safety, it's not that it's like a safe space, comfort zone, right? You still have standards and oftentimes intense standards of accountability and expectations. But people feel like they can try new things, that they'll be trusted and supported to speak freely, to ask questions, voice concerns, say, hey, I'm not sure about this, or I don't know if things are going right here. And so that you can actually get out in front of problems rather than just people kind of sweeping them under the rug. Okay, so you need that supportive, trusting, open environment. And then you have shared commitment. Shared commitment is, we all have a shared understanding of what the expectations are and what the vision is, and we all are personally accountable for it. So we understand what is expected of us, what the benefit of it to us is, and the why behind it, so that we're motivated to actually follow through on the change. Okay. So that's our model. Okay. Anything in an organization, anything in a team, to some extent, even anything in your own personal life, right? You need to have, if you say, I want to start reading more and lose 10 pounds, okay, well, you need to have the skills. Hopefully, you know how to read if you're watching this, but you need to have some basic skills of like nutrition, right? What are the things I should or shouldn't eat? What are the basic exercises I can do when I go to the gym? What do I lift? How much cardio, all that. You need the systems in place, right? So some accountability, get a workout plan. Get it on your calendar, get reminders, maybe get a personal trainer, purchase healthy foods. Okay. All these things are systems that are reinforcing the desired change. You need your books, you need Audible, you need whatever it is. And then you got psychological safety. That one as an individual doesn't apply so much. You have to trust in yourself, but then of course your own commitment, shared commitment, right? Say, well, it's important to me that I start reading more, I start exercising more. Once again, because if you don't have that, you're not going to do it. So again, we can see how this is a model that applies to change at pretty much all levels. And I'll just walk you through a story of how we deployed this, and credit to my co-founder and business partner, Paul, who led this engagement, and he did so very successfully. A medium-sized trucking company, but in terms of like revenue, very high performing, one of the top in the country in their niche, came to us with a lot of operational issues. And what we found was did some diagnosing of the problem. We found the main issue was safety. And a lot of it had to do with their safety culture and their climate around compliance and behaviors relating to safety. So we, as we do, broke it into our wonderful 4S model. And so we looked at skills first. And we found that they had, a lot of them knew some of the basics of safety, but they needed some brushing up on the actual safety specific skills. The other thing we found they needed skills, particularly in management, of how to influence people effectively. We sometimes call this emotionally intelligent communication, but you can think of it like this. If someone walks in and they're not wearing their safety glasses, you're like, Jeff, where are your glasses, man? You idiot. How many times do I have to am I deaf? Like, do you not hear? Like, put your damn glasses on or your ass is out of here. So what's Jeff going to do? Oh, he's going to put his glasses on, yeah. But the first chance he gets when you leave to go out in the field, he's going to be like, F this guy, I'm taking these off. Yeah, he's gone. I'm going on break. I don't give a shit. That's what happens. Now imagine if you say, hey, Jeff, look, I know you probably don't even need them right now because you're back here outside the office. But look, we're really trying to push safety right now. And ultimately, when drivers come in, they see us as leaders. We need to role model the type of behavior we want. And I know I've talked to Sarah before when she comes in, your wife at home and your little son, Tom. And I want you to get back to Sarah and Tom with both your eyes, everything still attached to your body, everything working. So do me a favor and keep the glasses on. It's night and day, right? And that second one, the level of genuine compliance and follow through you're going to get is huge. Okay, so that was the main upskilling we did. Emotionally intelligent communication in order to effectively influence people. Systems. We designed and had an external expert that we contracted with to audit their safety processes and programs and checklists. So we did a lot of work there. And we also even looked at things like incentive structures, right? In performance management, how are you accounting for performance? We found some instances where driver performance was tied to total tonnage. And so right there, think about it. You're incentivizing people in your talent management systems to potentially compromise safety in the name of increasing their productivity. It's kind of like, don't ask the barber if you need a haircut, right? Like if you are, for instance, assessing let's say you operate a hair salon, okay? And a lot of places do this. You might not know this. There's some inside baseball here around how most of the large chains work. Your Great Clips, your Sports Clips, is there a third one? They're all the same, but you get the idea. A lot of time they have basically targets they have to meet. Like you're supposed to spend a maximum of, I think it's 25 minutes cutting someone's hair. And so they like track that. Well, if you're just tracking how quickly they cut people's hair, that's a dangerous incentive, right? Because they have no incentive to actually do a good job. Now, I think in a lot of places they also track if you get complaints and stuff, but you can see how there would have to be a balance, right? If you're just measuring for and tracking the speed at which they cut, you're going to get people pumping out 100 haircuts a day, but they all suck. If you're just accounting for quality and not speed, you're going to have people in there spending an hour cutting someone's hair. So you got to get this trade-off in your talent management and performance management systems. So that's another area we looked at. Psychological safety. Okay, well, we needed to create a climate, especially there was tension between staff and management where people could speak up and share what was and wasn't working. And so not only did the emotionally intelligent communication tie in here, make people feeling trust and connection, and they could have actual conversations and manage conflict. We also did these open town hall type coaching sessions with all members of management every single week where they could recognize one another for what was going right, but also openly discuss challenges and setbacks and things that weren't going right. And so by shifting that, creating that container, and like we said with the skills, shifting their management styles, we started to create a climate. It wasn't perfect, but a climate of more genuine psychological safety where people could speak up and especially challenge things that leadership was doing, not in a way that was adversarial or we want to do it our way, but in a way that's genuinely helpful because the leader is like several levels removed from the frontline operations in most, even small businesses. Then finally, shared commitment. This is one of my favorites, right? How do you really motivate people to stick to the thing that we said they need to do? So what we did is we actually got all new hires, new truck drivers, a letter stating their commitment to safety, but it wasn't to the company. It was to their family. It said, I'm committed to safety so that I can get home to you safely each and every night. We had them sign off on it, mail it to their families, and so that they could actually get home and talk to their families about why they want to be safe. Okay, pretty powerful. My partner Paul at the first executive onboarding meeting for this, he made the COO stand up or something like the COO, handcuffed him and said, hey, you're under arrest for reckless endangerment. This company is now insolvent. It's uninsurable. It's bankrupt and no longer legally able to operate in the state of California. That's that. Pretty powerful. You think you got the shared commitment of the executives of like, shit, this is important. And so we got top down, bottom up, building shared commitment to a climate and culture of safety, compliance, of genuine compliance and follow through, open discussions, skills, systems, everything reinforcing the shift in being the safest company possible. What was the impact on their strategy and operations? Well, last I checked, which was few months ago, but we've heard things are still going okay, is a $3 million cost savings, 80% reduction in cost of claims year over year, and something similar, I want to say maybe 60% or something in total claims reduction. So this model, 4S model, really works. And you can think about it again in just about any problem set you're going after. So I'm thinking right now, actually tomorrow, I'm delivering a solution I developed that was more focused on staffing and customer service. So again, small business comes to us and says, hey, I feel like we're having a lot of morale issues. There's some, people, it's leading to a little bit of turnover. And we also feel like it's eventually going to impact our customer service. So I said, okay, 4S model. Skills. Well, what have these people been trained on? Well, they're all very good employees and very motivated. They haven't really received any training in leadership, in customer service, or just like foundational principles of communication, things like active listening or the use of I statements or conflict management and conflict resolution. So, okay, so we can do some upskilling in that, right? Second one, systems. Well, what kind of systems do you have in place to assess customer service right now? Are you regularly looking at it? Is it a part of your talent management conversations, your performance management conversations? So I said, okay, maybe I'll work with some of the frontline supervisors, coach them to make sure that they are actually managing performance with respect to both internal professionalism and external. Psychological safety. What's the level of trust and cohesion? We found that there's some challenges there. So I said, okay, I'm going to do a few experiential exercises that deploy psychology that help people to feel more connected and trusting of one another. And then I'll also facilitate some monthly calls where people can openly discuss challenges, things that are or are not working to manage all of those dynamics. And then the fourth bucket, shared commitment. I'm going to share some actually really powerful and inspiring customer feedback that was all about how the service this company provided, their addiction recovery service, changed their customers' lives, and say, look, this is the standard, right? This is the work you're doing. You're already all really good at customer service when you stick to what you're best at and you remember why it is you're doing this work. And so again, that's going to build a lot of, I think, we'll see. I think a lot of shared commitment to the work they're doing. So again, this is a slightly different case, but it's trying to create a climate where people want to work there and they want to stay there, and where they're delivering really exceptional outcomes to their customers, in this case, to their patients. And so you can see how it applies there. Same thing. You do a sales focused one. Okay, well, how much skills and development do my people have in the technical aspects of selling? Systems. Okay, what is our CRM? Do we have reminders to trigger follow-ups, to trigger check-ins, to trigger people who didn't show up to their appointment? Okay, all these things. Psychological safety. Do we have environments where people can share best practices? Or, this happens a lot in sales context, is it kind of a competitive environment where I'm like, I'm really good at sales. I don't want that guy to find out what I'm doing because then I won't look as good. And then, of course, shared commitment. So again, I think that you can apply this model to just about any problem. Okay, again, a team, personal life, and of course, small to medium-sized business, especially, you're really going to be able to influence people and drive the change that you want to have. So there you have it. Maybe the final thing I'll say about this 4S model is, especially those two pieces of psychological safety and shared commitment, these are also the foundation for happiness at work, for a good climate or culture. I prefer the term climate in your organization. When people feel that trust and support and openness and they can speak up, people feel really committed to the standards of the work that they're doing, and they feel that they have the skills necessary to do it and the systems around them support them. Yes, you're going to get way better outcomes in this thing that you're trying to change or influence, but just broadly, hell, people are going to actually want to show up to work, and they're going to like working and working for you and with you, which is a really powerful and important thing. So I hope you enjoyed this kind of little workshopping, practical edition of the Science of Happier Work. The 4S model, something you can have as a tool in your toolkit. Visit our website, happinessmeansbusiness.com as well. If you want more resources on it, just message me, comment down here. I'll walk you through it. Hell, I'm happy to sit down with you and talk through solving a problem with you for your context, your team, or your business for free, and just talk about how to apply this model. This is all shit that I love to do, and I'm really passionate about it. So do that if you want to make more money and have a better business and have better work-life balance. Okay, I think reasonable things to want. Feel free to take that invitation up. Otherwise, we will be back in about 2 weeks for another episode of the Science of Happier Work. As always, if you have questions, you want guests, suggestions, please reach out and we will honor that. So thank you again for your time. I'll see you next time. This has been Jackson Kirchis with Happiness Means Business.